Our story begins as any good story should. A really stupid lawsuit caused by ego problems. October 31st, 1986. After numerous threats of legal action, Roger Waters files a lawsuit against his former bandmates, David Gilmour, Nick Mason, and Richard Wright, on the grounds of, and I'm paraphrasing here, these guys are using the band which is very clearly mine despite me only being a quarter of the actual talent. After many long-winded and I'm sure absolutely not boring at all court sessions, the jury came to a verdict that you probably would have expected, and once again I'm paraphrasing here. The verdict was, the only thing stupider than this lawsuit is this joke. Roger took his inflatable pig, his 400 white cardboard brick blocks, and the IP rights for about 40% of Pink Floyd's entire discography, and officially left the band. This would have massive repercussions. It's been like 30 years, 40 years, and people are still arguing if Roger really was right. At this point, Pink Floyd was kind of in like a weird state of limbo. They weren't inactive, they were still making music, and some of it was even good. There just felt like there was some ever-present elephant in the room that felt impossible to ignore. Okay, a second ever-present elephant in the room that felt impossible to avoid. Jeez. So, what do they do now? Well, Pink Floyd does what they do best as of the modern day. A re-release campaign! The limited edition Trance remixes are, bar none, some of the weirdest Pink Floyd history I've had the joy of coming across. It's something I wanted to cover for the channel, as well as just get an excuse to dive into doing my own research for quite a while now. The whole concept of it is both absurd and makes total sense at the same time. Pink Floyd making electronica remixes to try to upend the status quo of music at the time in a similar way they did with London psychedelia scene in the 60s. It's just so crazy. Like, on paper, this is such a terrible idea, but at the same time, they've done this before, so it feels like Pink Floyd is the only music group that could get away with something like this. And yet, we have one of these for almost every single studio album, from Atom Heart Mother up to and including The Division Bell, with the exceptions of The Wall and the final cut for what should be obvious reasons. They really, really needed something to boost their publicity after all of the lawsuits with Roger, and they really just wanted to make lightning strike twice. It's not like they weren't alone, they had one of the biggest names in the industry alongside them, The Orb, and yet I never see any of this. Nobody really talks about this anymore nowadays, and it almost feels like this whole topic is something everyone just unanimously agreed to stop talking about after a certain point. So today, I'd like to do my part in uncovering this sarcophagus and taking a deep dive into this rather unappreciated aspect of Pink Floyd history. And I promise you, this story is not going the way that you think it does. But first, have you heard of the cult classic film Hackers from 1995 starring Johnny Lee Miller and in her debut role Angelina Jolie? If not, you should go watch it. It is ironically and unironically amazing. It's a total period piece of mid-90s computer culture. Hackers is a movie that has long stood the test of time, and it's just fucking cool, man, even now. You can tell that a lot of soul went into this project to make it feel so much more than just a movie. And the big way they do that is with its cinematic score, which, judging by the fact that they had 4 goddamn soundtracks, you can tell that there's some real talent behind it. I mean, just look at these names, man.
All around me, Eggmans, worn out Eggmans, worn out Eggmans, right in. I'm back in the fucking building again! Oh my god!
So, yeah, David Gilmour worked on Hackers. Or at least one take of one of the songs, at least. I forever remain unable to escape this band's prevalence in my other interests. I'm not kidding when I say these British guys are haunting me. But staying on the track of music, the whole identity of Hackers extends far beyond just in the cinematic score, but across all 4 of its soundtracks. While the first one is the cinematic score, and the second one is a 20th anniversary release of the cinematic score with some extra outtakes, including the version of Grand Central Station David Gilmour worked on, there's actually 2 more soundtracks, Hackers 2 and Hackers 3. Both of these are basically just mixtape albums of here's music from other artists that we think fits the vibe of our movie. And honestly, that's such a cool idea. I wish more studios did that. It's just cool. And if you look at the track listing for Hackers 2, gotcha. In my opinion, this is where Pink Floyd and the Orb first crossed paths on Work for Hackers. This is where they originally bumped shoulders, and this is where the whole concept of the limited edition trance remixes would start from. Oddly enough, this hasn't really been confirmed by, like, either side, but, I mean, you know how Pink Floyd is. They're kind of infamous for, like, rejecting any opportunity to do an interview, so honestly, that's not super atypical. Just don't look into it, please. But getting back on track to these actual releases, my cohort in Curiosities D actually has a physical copy of one of these trance mixes, so let's go over to her now. Thanks for that introduction, D-Tuber. So, right here I have the limited edition trance remix for The Division Bell, and if you've never seen this before, it might look totally normal to you, but if you have seen this album before, you're going to notice a couple of things that are off immediately. Two of them. First of all, red background. Normally the background's supposed to be, you know, like a blue sky and stuff, but now it's red. This is a pattern you're going to see with a lot of these trance remixes. They go for a style of, like, the regular cover art, but with some details, like, inverted. So, like, instead of a blue sky, it's red for aesthetic reasons. And second of all, giant fucking text. You know, a real hallmark of any real Pink Floyd album, just giant fucking text at the top. When you open it up, though, that's when it starts to get, like, actually kind of interesting. Because on the inside, you have two discs. This disc right here, this one is completely correct. This is a normal disc of The Division Bell on CD. And you can see right there, it's not going to pick up on the camera, 1994 Pink Floyd music, unexclusive license to Sony Music Entertainment Incorporated, yada yada yada. This is a regular disc. And then this has all of the trance remixes on it, which doesn't have as nice of a finish, but I don't know, maybe this was just something they did on, you know, just short notice, so they didn't really put a lot of time and effort into it, you know? But yeah, it's literally just a regular jewel case, but they just put a second disc underneath it. And yeah, the inserts are also completely different, and we still got the same labels on the size and stuff. And then there isn't a barcode. Dude, are these just bootlegs? So, explanation time. What I just told you, the whole story with Pink Floyd and the Orb, was the urban legend behind these things' existence for like 30 years, give or take. However, about 5 years ago, someone actually came forth with the truth. Yes, these are not official releases. Neither side mentioned in any interviews because it's not real. The Orb and Pink Floyd probably don't even know this thing even exists. All of these limited edition trance remixes, they all come from some guy named DJ Fish, who wasn't even a real DJ, and I'm pretty sure wasn't even a real fish either. It was just some guy in Rome making CDs out of his bedroom to make a couple of bucks. You could tell because my copy has a fucking typo on the cover. He wanted to get in on the action of making these remix CDs since he lived in an area where this sort of gray market media distribution wasn't really outlawed yet. And also to shove it in the face of the real hoity-toity Floyd fans that believe any edits of their perfect source material is blasphemy. It's been so long since then, and some things never change. When it comes to the actual composition of these remixes, they end up less of a remix per se, and more so lots of resampling a song over a beat. But these compositions and their weird inverted color scheme cover arts came to be known as the limited edition trance remixes, and they paved the way for a small musical movement. Pun not intended for once. Turns out, in my research, there are so many more than just these limited edition trance remixes, because people would go on and make their own goddamn compilations. Things like Absolutely Ambient, a collection of great trance remixes, Publius Enigma. There's so many of these weird offshoot gray market albums cosplaying as real hidden gems that only the real fans would know of and own, when in actuality, it's a scam. So here's the grift. What these remixers would do is they would buy a copy of The Division Bell on CD, for instance. I'm just going to say The Division Bell because it's based on the copy that I own, and because I want to just... Shut up! They would buy The Division Bell on CD, they would dump it on the computer, jumble together some remixes, burn it to a second disc, slightly mess up the cover art, slap it together, sell it at a markup, and claim that it's a special limited edition in hope that some schmuck buys this, thinking they got a good deal. When in actuality, They bought a bootleg at a premium markup. Was it successful? I mean, at the very least, my dad fell for it. He really did just buy a copy of The Division Bell with a fucking typo on the cover. And judging by the research that I've done online of other people sharing their accounts of this experience, he's not the only one. As such, this whole trance remix thing gets a really negative reputation right out the gate before we've even started to talk about the music. Now, I'm all about looking at media that would be scorned by the general public. I mean, for fuck's sake, my most of your videos about a porn game. I'm definitely not one to let public perception influence what I can and cannot enjoy. And as such, it would be a little hypocritical of me to just pawn these off as scams without trying to give them an honest shot. Who knows? Maybe someone actually innovated with the medium and there's a lot more effort put into this scene than my research indicated. So how do they sound? I tried. I really tried. I wanted to sit down and just go through these trance remixes, give them an honest shot. I used to listen to remixes like these as a youngin'. I remember the dodgy-ass fucking torrent that I even got them from, where I first learned of DJ Fish in the first place. But I'm 22 now, and God, I couldn't get through a single one of these albums. Absolutely ambient. Nah, more like absolutely curtains, the way that this group ain't even getting any jobs with music material like this. Ayo! That's a burn, and a Pink Floyd reference in one. Did we get that on camera? Seriously, these trance remixes, in my opinion, they just suck, man. And being stoned doesn't even help. They just don't hit. And it's not like I don't like electronica or anything. I mean, I own Discovery. Twice. It just sounds really half-assed. Like, there's a bunch of songs that are just the same song in dual mono, but the right channel is 3 seconds behind. Ooh! It's just so fucking lame, man. If you want to dig a little deeper, you can find actual period-accurate reviews of these things, but like, why? I mean, I get that the reveal that this is basically all masterminded by some Roman guy playing 5D chess for fun to make money and to troll Pink Floyd fans, and that was only made relevant within the current decade, but like, these bootlegs are mostly made by people that want to be silly, rather than trying to come forth with brand new material. And this is far from something that's just exclusive to Pink Floyd. Which, you hear that? Did you hear that? It's tangent time. Kiddos, today we're gonna talk about Napster. For all of those that weren't around Napster, myself included, basically, bootlegs got a second life on Napster. You've probably seen the really, really good Nakey Jakey video talking about how people would use metadata shenanigans to pump Napster full of mislabeled songs and malware and stuff, but there was a lot more trolling going on Napster rather than just RIA being upset and people wanting to spread malware and misinformation. People were trying to use Napster for much less severe and much more silly reasons. Over in the sister community of the Pink Floyd for Syd Barrett, fake Napster bootlegs were such a problem that, for historical purposes, and because it's pretty funny, most of them were archived in collections such as Have You Got It Yet and Have You Seen It Yet, which, good lord, I might have to make a video on Have You Got It Yet since that collection is absolutely absurd, but just bear with me. Tons of people would mess with songs ever so slightly and then mark them as a bootleg or a one-time super rare recording in the hopes that fans would be persuaded to listen to absolute garbage. And because it's Napster with the metadata being all over the place, it acted as the perfect cover for doing the little trolling. People just had to take a chance on these fake bootlegs. And most of the time, they were just terrible. And as such, they just kept on coming and coming until Napster eventually got shut down. And in a sense, that's kind of what these trance remixes are doing. Just before Napster would launch by a couple of years, since Napster would launch in like the late 90s, and these trance remixes started popping up around 92, 93, and actually doing it for profit on the gray market. And as such, since people are basically charging you to listen to garbage, would you believe that there's quite a lot of people online that aren't very happy with this? And yet, despite everything that we've talked about, despite the scorn and the negativity surrounding these remixes, despite the fact that the whole idea of trance remixes stem from bootlegs trying to scam people out of their money, there is talent. This may be the point where, to the untrained ear, you'd just call it quits. You just write off the entire genre as nothing more than the equivalent of someone's first SoundCloud song, but done in the 90s. But if you look below the surface, you could find people going against the notoriety and making an honest-to-God attempt to create something new. Let's circle on back to a name that I mentioned offhandedly a bit ago, that you probably didn't even think twice about. it's time to talk about a very, very special remix album called Publius Enigma. Publius Enigma is, in fact, an enigma. Despite the horrid reputation the entire genre of these trance remixes get for scamming people out of their money, there were some communities that sprung up and took to making a real collaborative effort with the medium. And from this, we got the Pink Floydian Propulsion Project, aka Publius Enigma. This is not just a shoddy remix of one of their albums. No. This is an original 20-track album running at 80 minutes with its own website and everything. Unlike the other trance remixes, Publius Enigma aims to be a brand new product by and for the fans. Not just for a quick buck, but to make a real labor of love. I mean, fuck man, just from the titles alone, you can tell that this was made by a group of people that actually care enough about Pink Floyd to care about the deep cuts. Besides just Zabriskie Point, and the beta name for the song that would become Sheep, they reference Pink Anderson. You know the reason why Pink is in Pink Floyd? Fun fact, the Floyd comes from a guy named Floyd Council. Both of these names are obscure blues artists that Syd Barrett really liked, so he portmanteaued them together, and now we have one of the names of the biggest rock bands in the world. Just on knowing that fun fact alone, you can tell this was made by people that want to actually make something new, and it's something that I really respect. There's something truly special about taking something, God, anything, that is ignored by the world around you, and making that shit your own, man! And while their original website is down, you can only access it via the Wayback Machine, they have a Facebook group responding to comments asking for physical copies as recent as 2 years ago. Seeing that this was something that was released in the late 90s, the fact that they were supporting people up until 2023 is genuinely really impressive. And when you dig in further, the name Pink Floydian Propulsion Project is a lot more grassroots than you might think. This entire album was made by 5 people, stemming from just one guy wanting to research what makes his favorite band tick, to starting to experiment with demos and going on his own journey of learning how to make music and developing his own original sound, and finally turning it all into a full, complete album. Like, this is so cool, hello? This truly is autism in its purest form, and I love it. In a sense, I made a video about Pink Floyd autism that ended up talking about someone else with Pink Floyd autism who expressed their autism by also making media. History really does just repeat itself every 20 to 30 years, huh? This video is about a lot of things. Bootlegs, scams, hackers 1995, autism for Pink Floyd, and expressing it all in unique ways. And honestly, it's about as curiosities as you can get. I think there's something really special about making things despite reputation, public perception, tools, know-how, all those silly excuses that people try to tell themselves to get them out of wanting to be creative. I've seen so many people, even on my own Discord, that talk about wanting to do content creation, saying shit like, oh, if only I had X, or oh, if only I had Y, I could do all these things. And to all those people, stop. Stop doing that to yourself. Stop telling yourself what you can do before you've even tried to do it. If this random guy from the mid-90s can break out of the mold of how Pink Floyd Trance Remix is viewed by the community and make an actual finished musical product that earned its share of respect and reviews, then I'm sure that you can make a YouTube video, even if your mic is kinda ass. Just record with a blanket over you if it's that bad. Like, come on. I like to make a sticking point with every one of my videos, and this is exactly that. Don't let anything, inside you, or outside you, or otherwise, tell you what you can and can't do. Don't let anything, inside yourself or otherwise, stop you from making a genuine effort at creation. Whatever that is, be it music, or video, or writing, or anything else that you need to do. The only thing that gets to decide what you get to do is you. Thanks for watching, friend. I'll see you next time.